Welcome back to the Disruption Lab, where we get inside the minds of people who are tackling disruption in positive ways to help you to do the same in your work and in your life. I'm Patrick Ledden, and my guest today is Diane Schwartz. Diane has spent her career at the intersection of media, communication, and reinvention. She's the Chief Executive Officer at Ragan Communications and the first woman to hold that seat in the company's nearly 60-year history. Since taking over in 2019, Diane's driven 7 straight years of growth and launched everything from women's retreats and the Future of Communications Conference to AI Horizons and the Ragan Center for AI Strategy. Before Ragan, she spent more than 2 decades at Access Intelligence, building brands like PR News, Synopsys, and Ad Exchanger. She started as a journalist, she's a founding member of Chief, and she's launched well over 100 conferences and products along the way. So with all that said, please join me as we welcome Diane to the Disruption Lab.
Thank you for tuning in to No Sudden Moves Radio. And remember, stay on the proven path so you don't risk falling behind. Here at Business Legends, we don't overthink it. Look around and see what everyone else is doing. If it's working for them, it will work for you.
Welcome to Wait It Out, where we believe there's no reason to act now. The opportunity will still be there when the timing is better.
The age of disruption isn't coming, it's here. And the boldest move isn't following the crowd, it's following your why. I'm Patrick Ledden, and you're listening to Disruption Lab. Hey, Diane Schwartz, welcome to Disruption Lab.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for having me here.
So glad to have you here. I'm excited for our conversation today. But before we get into talking about Ragan, your organization, or some of the big shifts you navigated, I wouldn't mind if you just take a minute and tell us a little bit about who you are. Who's Diane Schwartz? Maybe when you're not even being the CEO, who's Diane Schwartz?
I'm Diane Schwartz, is a mother, a wife, a dog owner. I'm a former journalist, and I love writing. I love editing. I edit wine bottles. I edit cereal boxes. Yeah, everything there is to be edited out there for me. I love being outdoors, sort of like other human beings, travel, biking, reading, naturally curious. I think that's something that's a through line in my day, is asking lots of questions, being curious about the news, about things going on with people. And so I think that, definitely bleeds into my work life, but curiosity sort of fuels me.
Did you grow up with a very curious mind? Were you the type of kid where your parents or whomever raised you was like, okay, who taught her the word why? Or did it kind of come to you?
I guess it came to me. I asked a lot of questions. I'm the youngest of 4. I have 3 older brothers, so had to get a word in edgewise, in that household. So I think it started there.
I'm the youngest of 5, so therefore we have that. We understand that youngest energy, right? Trying to find your spot all the time, and not wanting them to kick you out of the room, but wanting them to embrace you along the way. So I had 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters, so a little bit different configuration, but I understand that youngest space. So you've been at Ragan for nearly 7 years now? I guess. Yes. 7 years. You joined from Access Intelligence, is my understanding. I told that to the audience on the front end, as the first female CEO. So what was it like to step into that role of a company that's nearly 60 years old?
Yeah, it was a pinch me moment for me personally, because I had known about Ragan for most of my career, as it was a competitor of mine, my previous job. And so Mark Ragan and I knew each other, and he asked me if I wanted to take over his company. And there had only been 2 leaders of the company prior to me, and I was naturally honored and a little nervous. I'd never been the CEO of an organization before. So it was an exciting moment, and it's really never stopped being, it's never boring. Always exciting. Always, there's always some level of disruption.
I bet.
In my days. Yeah.
How did that, I imagine that curiosity side of you probably served you well as you came into the role.
It did. I mean, you come into an organization, and I mean, I do come with a lot of questions just in general, but you have to ask a lot of questions, be patient, wait for the answers, sort of, filter that through, a new lens that I had coming in as a CEO. So I knew that I needed to shake things up. That was part of my charge that I had from our owner. So I was given the license to disrupt, the license to shake things up. That can be a little scary for the people that were working at the company at the time, and even for me. So you're doing the right thing, shaking things up in the right way. And a big part of that was redefining who we were as a company. Instead of a traditional media company, publisher, if you will, what we really are is a company that brings learning and development and community to our customers. So that, then you reverse engineer from there, and you have to create new products, different talent sets that you need, skill sets that you need. So the disruption began once we defined what this company is for the future.
What was driving the redefinition of the company? Had things changed kind of externally, and you're like, okay, the world is changing, and we need to change with it? Had it grown a little, I don't know, stale or stagnant, or too comfortable where it was at? What was the catalyst? What was the disruption that caused the disruption that became you joining?
Well, I knew coming in that this was an incredible community, incredible loyal base of customers. Our color palette is this, Ragan blue, and there's the people say they, bleed Ragan blue, and it's just like a very loyal, sticky community. Yet it was practicing. The practices were very much that traditional publisher, and of the traditional publisher. Media was changing even 7, 8 years ago, and even like 10 years ago. Radical changes in media and media consumption. And Ragan was trying to catch up with that and figuring out what to do. So back to this community, the thought about how do you monetize a community? Content is one thing. Consumption of content has sort of been commoditized, but community is where it's at. And the people, our customers, and how you can monetize community became sort of our, North Star coming in. So that changes the products in the portfolio and the way that we run the business.
Is there a dynamic at play between monetizing the community and not losing the trust that you've built with them over the course of time?
It's a great question, because it's all we have. Like, trust and authority is what we have to sell. Right. I mean, we put out we create great content across many platforms at Ragan. End of the day, especially now, now I'm sure we're going to talk about AI a little, but now more than ever, our customers need trusted sources. And so trust is number one. And so that is a very delicate line that we walk with, making sure that everything we do has the trust of our customers. So, when I say monetizing our community, it's not like as transactional as that may sound. It's really getting to know our customers more, bringing them together, hosting that community under the Ragan brand. And money comes after you have that license to do that. Yeah,
so kind of understanding them and really giving them what they need, what they don't even necessarily know that they need at this moment.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting world we live in, and I'm wondering, when you stepped into your shoes, in the shoes of your new role, with a mandate to make some changes. There's a lot of people listening to this, whether they're, given a leadership role for the first time ever in a team, but they may have a mandate similar to yours or wherever they might be in their career and in their life, but they step into something and they're trying to figure out like what should be changed and what should be kept. What are the things that are kind of, we should really poke and prod, and at the end of the day say, we're going to keep that the way it is, and what are the things that are being poked and prod, and we say, we're going to blow up or reinvent this type of thing. How did you discern which way to go with things?
Well, I did create, the 30, 60, 90 day plan, and then I threw it out. Because it wasn't something that really suited my style in that, some of the things that you do in the first 30 days, I realized I really needed 60 days to do that. And something that I would be waiting 90 days for in that plan. I'm like, I need to do this now kind of thing. So, I got rid of that, kind of those parameters and sort of opened my mind up to, really listening hard to the employees, listening to our calling customers, talking about their experience, not only with Ragan, but so we serve communicators, marketers, HR professionals. So just talking to our customers and even to prospects, about their life right now and how, we can serve them was really important. I got some things wrong at the beginning.
No way.
And I got a lot of things right, and I knew if I had to make some mistakes, because that means I was really pushing the envelope, I guess. But giving our team, my team, the permission to make mistakes too is really important. But it's surrounding yourself with good people too. I mean, that's an obvious statement, but someone that might have been good in good in this moment right there. And so thinking about who I needed in this moment when I was coming in as a leader of a company, which is not just about knowing about communications and the subject matter, but knowing how to run a company and the operational side, the financial side. I knew I needed to up my game in terms of putting together like my personal board of advisors and counting on people outside of the company to help me navigate the first year, really.
When James Patterson and I started off studying positive disruptors, people who see change as opportunity for fertile ground and opportunity to do things like what you did as you stepped into your role, we talked a lot about the importance of relationships and how some relationships are like tailwinds in your life and some are headwinds, and you want to create more tailwinds and be a tailwind to other people. But I swear we could have spent even more time talking about it, because as you're talking about here is the idea that, you live in a sea of relationships and you need the right people in the right seats with the right vision of what you're trying to do in order to make this quote unquote thing, whatever it is somebody's trying to do, happen.
Right. And people are so generous if you just ask, even people that, I created this formal personal board of advisors where I ask people to join it and to be a part of it. But also there are people that just one conversation goes a long way, or someone every now and then that we can help each other out and not having to commit to anything like formal. So people want to help. I know I want to help. When people reach out to me, I love that. I learned something in those conversations as well. But if you just ask, you most likely will receive some really great feedback or insights.
Yeah, my wife and I I oftentimes say when I'm talking to leaders, especially leaders who are newer in their roles, I might say something like, obviously, you don't have to have all the answers. And you'll be surprised that if you stand in front of your team and you say, I'm not exactly sure which way to go on this, but I want to figure this out and I'm committed to making it happen. Most teams will rally behind you. They won't go, okay, we'll watch you walk off this cliff type of thing. That's just not typically what teams will do. And even yesterday, my wife and I were out for a walk. We do a lot of morning walks. We were walking out, and we live in the city here in Nashville, and we were crossing a street at a crosswalk area. And I don't like to cross the street until I see the eyes of the driver, making sure they're paying attention to me. And it was just kind of funny because I looked at the one car that was coming toward me and it slowed down and stopped and they gave me a big wave and I waved back at them. And I looked at the other car coming the other direction. They gave me a big smile. And I just remember walking across the street saying to my wife yesterday, I'm like, people are generally really nice and helpful. We just oftentimes don't see that. That's not what we hear about people.
Right. And it sounds like you gave them like good eye contact,
Yeah,
exactly. Which is a nice thing, human to human, like interaction. What a thought.
Exactly. Who would have thought, right? So, okay. So back to the story at hand. You get in the role and you're starting, and my understanding is you've launched a number of products over the course of your tenure there, women's retreats, the Future of Communications Conference, certification programs. First, tell us a little bit about what you launched. And then secondly, which one kind of felt like the biggest gamble at the time?
There have been probably 50 or so products and services that we've launched in the last, the last 7 years or so. Some of them, I'm glad to say some of them we sunsetted or we just moved on from. Knowing, when you launch, some are going to work, some aren't going to work out, but you're always learning something, piloting. I like to use the word pilot with launches so that there's always an exit ramp for everyone involved, should it not, be the right way forward. I knew you had mentioned my being the first female CEO at Ragan, and I remember how great it felt when a lot of women reached out to me saying, like the you go girl kind of thing. And that felt good. And yet even though we have women's retreats and top women awards programs, I don't put myself like I'm a female CEO, but I like to think of myself, I'm a CEO. That I'm female, it just happened to be female. That being said, there is an issue in the marketplace, especially around senior leadership roles where women are still behind men on that front. So we want to elevate women in communications, marketing, and HR. And so we have a women's circle, which is a forum for women to come together and help each other out. We have these awards programs for women. And it felt one of my favorite moments was our first women's retreat several years ago. And the feeling at the end of it, of the women feeling so connected with one another and so inspired to go back to their homes and to their office, like as a sort of with a different insight and more confidence. That was a wonderful moment for me and my team that we did that we brought these women together, and we're continuing to do that. Our next one's in September. Our next retreat is in September. The Center for AI Strategy is one of my favorite launches so far, not only because it's around the topic of AI, but the way that we built this center is around bringing in outside advisors from all walks of the business to help our members solve current issues or needs, which are surely going to change in a month later because AI is constantly changing. So it's a community, it's about learning, but it's very focused on how do I do this? How do I need to know about the latest features on Claude so that I can do X, Y, Z, and then we give them that answer. And so it's about communicators and marketers coming together around AI in this center. And so it's an exciting launch for us because it's scalable. It's also scalable to other disciplines in a company. So we're just at the beginning of that journey with this center as we grow it from not just for communicators, but for other disciplines.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Center for AI Strategy because I heard you talk about, you said that, I'll get this quote right, you said AI is a career accelerant for communicators, but only if the right levers are pulled. And I would imagine other functions too. You just said like other career paths and other things, but it's this accelerant, but only the right levers are pulled. What do you think are those levers?
Well, it's that AI is not first and foremost, the thesis needs to be AI is not replacing your job. right? But it could replace it if you're not thinking right in our case, as communicators. And so the levers that need to be pulled need to be the same ones that the C-suite are pulling with AI. And I say that in the vein of, we need to go at this, like, what is a job that needs to get done? What are the business KPIs? What are the business goals? And then how can AI help me accelerate those business goals? So AI just for AI's sake, or just to say you've built an agent, like, what does it really mean for you and your business and for your growth? And so really understanding what to edit out of your AI remit. You don't need to do everything on AI. And I've been in a lot of conversations with communicators and top executives through our leadership council and other roundtables that we do. And there's a lot of talk about cognitive decline in the workplace and reliance on AI to think for you. And that's a real problem, especially early career employees coming in and being encouraged to use AI for a lot of things. And maybe it's not being said out loud to not use it for certain things, but this whole idea of staying curious, experimenting, understanding the business, those are areas that give you that human edge. So the levers you need to pull are the ones that are opposite that, you know, it can help you be more productive, help you do the research you need done. It's a thought partner, it's not your thoughts. You know, it's not like your mind in AI. So I think that's really important that we know what our human edge is in the workplace, and we use AI to help sharpen that edge.
Yeah, it seems like as I go out and work with people, and you hear terms like AI slop and the ability to how much work AI can take for human beings just to try to sort through all the stuff it's producing that might not be valuable, or just using it in ways that just throws something over the fence to someone else. It's a long document, but now somebody's got to go through it and figure out what the heck is in there. All the way to it's a thought partner. And think about it as a thought partner. You're still the leader. I heard somebody say the other day that AI has the ability to make us all B- students, but you have to choose what you want to be an A+ student at. And that's the differentiator of wisdom. I'm just kind of curious, as I say those different things, like what hits you, or what are you hearing people in your community say about what they're starting to realize about AI now that they've got through that kind of first horizon?
Yeah, well, we produce a lot of content. And that's, you know, we have a lot of, we're producing news, and we have 2 websites, daily content. And it is really imperative for us to write as journalists. Our team, you know, we have a team of journalists, and that sort of guides a lot of what we think and what we share out in the community, which is people can detect when something's been written by AI. I mean, there's the whole, you know, our rest in peace for the M dash, you know, and different.
Which is sad. I like M dashes, but yeah.
I know.
I think
semicolons and other things are, you know, the word architect. You don't want that in a unless you're an architect.
That's why I want to say to people, like, prove to me you actually know how to make an M dash appear on your screen. If you don't know which keys to hit, you really aren't using that.
But you can detect, the radar is really strong on detecting when something is written by AI. And that isn't always bad that it's written by AI, but I think that that authenticity and trust that, at least for our company, we're trying to make sure is out there in the community. AI can be very dangerous in that way. So we hear that from our community as well. We are seeing amazing use cases for AI. We have some members of our leadership council that have shared how they've created a chief of staff for themselves, for their department, which has been a game changer for them, this Fortune 1000 company. It's allowed them to be more strategic, to take on new roles in the organization, to really organize the priorities aligned with business. That's the chief of staff agent has been a game changer for a lot. Same with other agents where you're doing executive communications and you input that executive's voice and thoughts, and then you create some just really amazing thought leadership that needs to be edited still. I mean, that's the key thing. We're moving from like sort of writers to editors in this space. If you're in comms or marketing, do a lot of writing. But now with AI, got to hone those editing skills. And that's sort of the shift we're seeing. And then it's, it hallucinates a lot. So you can put in all of your data and still it may hallucinate. So you always have to assume there's a hallucination. It's almost like hide and seek, like find the hallucination in this output, before you finalize something. I think that's
it seems like sometimes I'll ask Claude or ChatGPT, whatever tool I'm using. I'll say, "Did you just make this up?" And it'll be like, "Yeah, I'll go find the real source." It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you have the State of AI Communication study, right?
Yes.
And
we do that every year.
My understanding is really about like, how do you move from experimentation to kind of real execution? And I was curious, like sitting where we're sitting right now, if you look out a year from now, how would you know if the communicators you're working with within your community have actually started to cross that line? What would you see them kind of getting unstuck from?
Well, there are a few areas here to answer that. One, if you're in the PR space and you understand that earned media is golden for you in terms of showing up in the engines, the answers. If you want to own the answers, you need to understand PR and how to create content that's going to attract the LLMs. So there's a real opportunity now, sort of this moment for PR people to seize it and to really understand GEO and how earned media works in this new AI environment. So that's really important.
What will you look at a year from now to say, okay, we're making more of those moves that are suggesting we're getting unstuck in the industry?
Yeah, any communicator that is stuck, or one way to know if you're unstuck is if you're invited into more of the strategic meetings at your organization and you're not just an order taker. The tasks in the order taking, I mean, AI can handle some of that, so can communicators, but what we're really trying to do with our customers is get them to be the eyes and ears of the C-suite and even be in the C-suite reporting to the CEO. So understanding the business and being fluent in the business a year from now, AI should give you time to do that. You have to put in the work, though. You have to understand, you have to wear that business hat and understand, and this goes for other disciplines as well, those listening that come from, coming in with sort of that business mindset versus whatever your title is, communications or customer service or whatever it is, marketing, sales, under being that business leader versus like a communicator AI is going to make it easier for you to do that. So a year from now, you should be much more advanced in your organization. You should be part of the organization's AI task force. Hopefully it has one. And the communicator needs to be a part of that because your business's reputation and your narrative sort of relies on that communications function being strong. And governance and, all the risks involved with technology now, you need the comms person in the room.
So if I'm a communicator or any listener really listening to this right now, and I say, okay, I feel like disruption is kind of happening to me instead of happening for me. And I hear you talking about the idea of I need to be more engaged in the business conversation, the new technology is coming out, kind of put myself in that position. What's something that I can even do this week, next week, to kind of get on the right front foot?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to stop thinking it's going to stabilize out there. I mean, first and foremost, stop spending time trying to stop the disruption or stop the instability and understand that this is the way it is. And so that time spent on trying to stop things or even being in denial is thinking about, what can I learn this week? What new thing can I learn about my business? What new thing can I learn from a customer or a colleague? Reinvest that energy in curiosity. I mean, curiosity, it goes back to, I've written some pieces around the leadership stack that we should be thinking about. Everyone, you might have different layers on your leadership stack, but at the end of the day, it's about, areas like good judgment, curiosity, empathy, emotional intelligence, all the, executive presence. All these things should be in your leadership stack, and you should be honing that. You should be spending time every day thinking about, how am I sharpening this area of my leadership stack?
It's interesting. We kind of went full circle there, didn't we? We started off with curiosity. Curiosity as you entered the role, curiosity in your early life, all the way back around to curiosity and growth today, and encouraging people to do that. So as we wrap up our conversation, I'm going to take a 90-degree turn on you, maybe a 180. I'm curious about this. So my producer, the people listening to the podcast know, my producer, Jess, challenged me a while back. She's like, how do you do a podcast and write about disruption, encouraging people to be positive disruptors, but you keep getting your coffee, your latte from the same place all the time, the same chain? Whenever you travel, you go to the same place. She said, can you at least disrupt that? So for the last, year or so, I've been disrupting my habit of trying to pick out the best vanilla latte I can find, trying different local places, putting it in my newsletter. You're just kind of saying, I can disrupt myself in little ways as well. But my question is this: are you in the pursuit of the perfect drink or food, or have you found it? And if you found it, share your wisdom with us so we can go find whatever your version of the perfect vanilla latte is.
Oh my. I keep it simple, and I drink black coffee. And so I am amazed by all the different coffee flavors and brands, and the branding of coffee drinks. I love that. Like I said, but I don't drink any of it. And it's actually very freeing for me to just have black coffee.
So if you have a choice between like the darker roast or the medium roast or the light roast, where do you go?
I would say dark roast.
Oh, you're like the OG when it comes to
no sugar.
Do you make coffee at home?
I do.
Do you grind it? Do you grind the beans or?
No. And I think that would be a really good idea for me to disrupt my mornings and get into like making my own coffee, grinding and the smell of making your own coffee versus a Keurig, So that's a good idea. I think.
All right. So there we go. We disrupted the disruptor today.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Diane, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure getting to chat with you. And I'm excited about all the things you're doing. I encourage people, I'll put in the notes how they can find your website. They can learn about your conferences and your events and maybe participate in some of those things or start to follow and be part of that community. Because I love so many things you're talking about how we can lean into these disruptions as opposed to burying our heads in the sand or act like it's not going to happen or I can wait this thing out. It's coming, whatever it might be next. And those of us who lean into it with a desire to be curious and grow, I think are going to be a lot more effective and actually a lot more fulfilled in the process along the way. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Patrick.
Well, again, a big thanks to Diane for joining us today for this fantastic conversation. I appreciated how generous she was with her time and with her thinking. To all of you listening out there, if you found what Diane shared helpful, I encourage you to go to her team's website at Ragan.com. It's Ragan.com. And I encourage you to dig into the Ragan Center for AI Strategy because I think you'll find that research extremely helpful. Now, if this episode got you thinking differently about the disruption in your world, share it with someone else. Maybe someone who needs to hear it, and encourage them along with you to follow the Disruption Lab so you don't miss whatever we have coming next. I'm Patrick Ledden. Keep disrupting, and we'll see you next time.